Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Quality Learning with Suyash. In today's video session, we will be going to discuss about the topic how to access records from table using SQL command. So in today's video session, we will be having some points that we'll be going to discuss. The first is command used to access records from a table. Second one, different ways to access records from a table. Third, syntax used. Fourth, sample example, and fifth, code execution. So let's start our first point, command used to access records from table. So here the name of the command what we have to use to access any record from the table is select. This particular select command is one of the data manipulation language command which we use to access or retrieve or extract records from a table. Second point, different ways to access records from a table. So once our table is created and it is populated with some records, now next part is that how we will be able to access those particular records. So there are four different ways in order to access the record from the table. The first one is all columns and all rows. Second is all columns and selected rows. Third is selected columns and all rows, and fourth is selected column and selected rows. So we will be going to discuss all these four category of accessing the data or the records from a table one by one. So let's go with the first approach. So what syntax we have to use for all columns and all rows? So here it is a simple syntax to access the record in terms of all columns and all rows from a given table. So syntax is select space asterisk space from table name. So here the important thing is that we should be aware with the name of the table from which we want to access the records. Now what asterisk here is? So here asterisk is used to have all the columns in our output table. So once we will query our table, input table, we will be getting certain outputs. That output will again be a table which consists of some rows and columns. So here we will be getting the output where all columns and all rows will be available. So whatever the input will be there in your input table, the same thing will be coming as an output in our output table. So in place of writing all the column names explicitly, here instead of that we will be going to use a symbol asterisk. So let's see one sample example. Here you can see the name of the table is student. Now here we have three columns in this particular table as well as three rows available in this particular table. So this is row 1, this is row 2 and this is row 3. It means we have three columns and three rows. This is our input table and our output table will also be same. So let's see one sample example here. Now we have a query. The query is find the details of students. So here a student is our table, its input table from where we want to find the details of all the students. So as we have seen, we have three records available in the table students in our input table. So same three records we want to have in our output table also. So for that we need to write this SQL command select asterisk from table name. Here table name is replaced with student. So let's see once we will execute this particular command what will be our outcome. So as I said, our output will also be a table with certain columns and certain number of records. So as I told you, here we are working with the first category. We call it as a all columns and all rows. So here if you remember, we have a three particular column in our input table as well as three particular rows available in our input table. So same is coming as our output also. So in output also we have a 3 columns, all 3 columns as an input and all 3 rows as an input. So our input is exactly coming as a output. Let's go with the second category. The second category is all columns and selected rows. It means all columns, whatever the number of columns will be there in our input table, that will be reflected in our output table also. But here, in place of all the records, we will be getting some selected records. For that, we need to write a syntax: select space asterisk space from space table name space where space condition. So what where here is? Here where is a type of a clause and this condition is replaced with the column name is equals to value. So whenever we want to have some selected records, you keep in your mind, it is important that we have to always include where clause whenever we want to have some selected records. Now let's see our another query. In this we have been asked to get the details of the student whose roll number is r underscore 02. So in our table there were 3 records. One is related to r underscore 01, another was related to r underscore 02 and the third one was related to r underscore 03. So instead of having all the records related to R01, R02, R03, here we are expecting the records which is only related to R underscore 02, means the roll number should be R underscore 01, sorry, R underscore 02. Other than that, we don't want any other records in our output table. So for that, we are writing the SQL command select space asterisk space from table name. Our table name is student where now the clause is condition. Where is a clause and condition is replaced with a column name and value. So here column name is nothing but our roll number and r underscore 02 is nothing but the value for this particular column name roll number. So once you will write this particular command and you will execute it, you will get the output like this. Your output will be again a table. Here all columns means all 3 columns will be available, but instead of having a 3 records, now what the condition is matching where the roll number is r underscore 02, only that particular record is coming as a output. Now come to our next category. Third category is selected columns and all rows. So here we don't want all the columns. In our input table, we were having 3 columns, but we don't want all 3 columns. Maybe we want only 1 column, maybe we want 2 columns. We don't want all the columns. If we have a case where we are not required to have all the columns from input table to come in an output table, in that particular case, it is mandatory that we need to name the column explicitly. For that, we will be going to use the syntax select space column name 1, comma, column name 2, comma, dot, 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 comma, column name n. So it is replaced with the name of the column what you want to have in your output table from table name. So you can see here we have to explicitly name the columns what we need in our output table. So only those particular column name we have to nominate what we want in our output table. So here you see our third query. We have been asked to find the roll number and name of all the students. So again in our input table there was 3 column. Now the column was roll number, name and specialization. But in this particular query, they have not asked about specialization. They only asked about roll number and name of the students. So out of 3 columns, we want only 2 columns in our output table. So for that, we are writing a query select space roll number space name from table name. So when we will use this particular execute, we will use this particular SQL command and we'll execute it, our output will come like this. Here in this particular output, you can see you are only having two columns, but you are having all three records because it is coming under the third category, selected columns and all records. So I hope you are understanding it. So our last category is selected columns and selected rows. It means we don't want all the column from our input table, as well as we only want our filtered records wherever the condition is matching in our query, that record only we want. It means not all columns and not all rows. In that particular case, we have to use this particular syntax: select space column name 1 space column name 2 comma is select space column name 1 comma column name 2 comma dot 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 column name n from table name where condition. So again, as I said, wherever we have to go for selected records, always where clause will come into existence. I am repeating, wherever we want to go for selected rows, then definitely we have to use where clause. It is mandatory and it is to be implemented with some condition, and condition is always replaced with column name is equals to value. Okay, so let's see one example related to this particular category. Here we have been asked to find the roll number and name of all the students whose specialization is computer. Now only two columns we want out of the three columns. We don't want the specialization of the student, but we are imposing a condition on the specialization column where the value of this specialization column should be equal to computer. So for this, what command we are writing? Select space roll number comma name from table name, which is our student, where condition is replaced with column name is equals to value. So here column name is specialization is equals to value is computer, which we have to keep inside a single quote. So let's see, if we'll execute this particular command, what will be our output. So our output will be like this: we will be having only two columns and we'll be having only one row. So it is a case of selected columns and selected rows. So I hope all the four categories you understood with the example what I have explained in this particular video. Now let's go for code execution. So here, if you remember in our previous video, I have made one table with the name student underscore table and I have inserted three records. So let me rewind this particular thing. We have inserted these three records with the help of these commands. So first record, second record and third record, you can see here. Now if you want to see what record we have inserted, for that we have to use one of the four category whatever we have discussed in our today's video. For example, we have a query, find the details of students. This is our query given. So for that, what command we have to use? So it is very simple. Here, by looking at the question itself, you need to understand it is coming under which category, whether it is all columns all rows, or all columns selected rows, or selected column all rows, or selected column selected rows. Very important to understand this particular concept. Just by looking at the question itself, we have to understand which category this particular query belongs to. So this particular question belongs to all columns and all rows, because we have not imposed any condition and we have not asked any columns name explicitly in this particular question. So how to solve this particular question? We will be using a command select space asterisk space and our table name here in this particular student underscore table, and let me select this particular command and I have to click on run button to get the output. So here viewers, you can see we have 3 records and 5 columns available in this particular table: roll number, name, gender, department and age, 5 columns and 3 rows are there. So this is our actual table with 3 records inserted into this particular table. And second question, for example, we will ask find the details of students whose gender is female. Suppose this question is asked. So again the question comes, what category this particular query belongs to. So find the details of a student whose gender is female. It means we are imposing some condition. So condition, wherever condition is there, it means we are talking about selected records. But in this question we have not asked explicitly the name of the column, whether we want roll number or name or gender or department or age. If we have not asked explicitly which column we want, it means it is coming under the category of all columns. But here condition is there, whose gender is female. It means we don't want any records where the gender is male. It means it is a selected case. So selected rows will come. So what command we have to use? Select space asterisk space from table name. So here our table name is student underscore table, and I said wherever we have selected records we have to use a clause where and condition is replaced with column name is equals to value. So here where this condition is imposed on the gender column. So here we have a gender column and the value is female, but you remember we are not writing female, we are going to use F for female and M for male. So how to write this particular query? Where gender is equals to, in single quote we will write F, that is F for female. We'll select this particular command and let's see what will be the outcome of this particular command. So here you can see now we are getting all 5 columns, but we are getting only 2 records. In the previous case we have seen 3 records. In this particular question we have seen 2 records. Now let's go with another query which is related to our third category. Suppose I want find the roll number and department of students. This is the question. So here you can see by looking at the question, it is very clear I am interested only on the roll number and the department column, not all 5 columns. So out of this 5 column, from our input table, our output will be having only 2 columns. One will be roll number and another will be department from our table. So let's see what command we have to use in this particular case. So we'll be going to use select. We can't use asterisk in this case because we want only a specific column. So we will write roll number. This is our first column name, comma, our second column name what we want is department, from table name. Our table name is student underscore table, and there is no condition imposed where something or whose something, nothing is written like that. It means it is coming under the category of selected columns all rows. So let's execute this particular command. So here you can see we are having only 2 columns in our output table, but in our input table there was a 5 columns. So it is a case of selected columns. In our input table there was a 3 record, now here also we have a 3 record. It means it is coming under the category of selected column and all records. So let's solve one more query for our fourth category. Let me extend this particular question. Find the roll number and department of student whose gender is female. So again you can see by looking at the question, I am asking explicitly about only 2 columns out of the 5 columns from my input table. Output table will be having only 2 columns, one is roll number, another will be department. And here you can see the question is extended with the clause whose gender is female. It means it is a conditional statement. So wherever the student gender we will find it out as a female, only those record we want to have in our output table. So it is a case of selected column and selected records. So let's see what command we have to use for this. We will write select asterisk from our table name. So table, sorry, we can't use asterisk as we need only roll number, and the second is department of from student underscore table. This is our table name. Now again selected records means, as I said, we have to use where clause condition, and condition is replaced with column name is equals to value. So which column we are going to put a condition on? The column gender is equals to female. So for female I am using capital F and statement termination symbol semicolon, and let me select this particular command and execute this. So here dear viewers, you can see we are getting only 2 columns out of 5 columns, which is there exactly in our input table, and in our input table there was 3 records. Now we are getting only 2 records. So it is a case of selected column and selected records. So I hope you understood with this how to execute the queries by looking at the question itself, how we have to understand that which particular category it belongs to in order to access any particular record from our table. So thank you everyone, and I'll see you in my next video. In the next video I'll be going to discuss about how to update records in a table. If you like this video, then please like this particular channel and also share it, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you everyone.